And suddenly I heard a voice very clearly say, if you are going to follow me, close that book now.
Oh, I couldn't survive.
top,
Couldn't do it.
you know,
Can't
it
do it
was-
here. Can't do it in Russia. And when I hear people say, you know, secularism is where we're going, the church is dead, the church is not going to be here much longer, the church is irrelevant, it's like the church isn't going anywhere.
Truth will never be irrelevant. I think the most important thing that we all have to remember is, I think, can be summed up in one word: integrity.
I just like to begin with the sign of our faith in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Put your hands together for Jordan Power.
All right, Father Kevin, thank you for joining me today on Tower Talks, the first episode, big premiere. I've known you for, 5 years now? Since 2020, I think?
2019.
2019.
We met in 2019.
And it's 2026, so
Right.
It's been longer than
7
5 years.
years,
7
yeah.
years. Maybe the world will end. 7's like wholeness complete, right? So
Exactly.
we're done. Our relationship's over after 2026.
No,
so we
no,
gotta get
no,
this
no.
podcast finished.
This is friends forever.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I got to ask you. So I've known you for a long time, and you have a very interesting history, and I only know a little bit. It's checkered for me, and I imagine if I only know a little bit, most people don't know any of it. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. We got to get into this. You're from Sri Lanka.
Right.
You were a Hindu.
Right.
You moved to Russia for med school. You practiced medicine for a bit, and then you ended up here, and now you're a priest somehow.
Well, that's not the whole story. There's a lot of missing parts.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So yes, I am of Sri Lankan descent, Sri Lankan Tamil descent. My parents were Sri Lankan. My father was a doctor. Mom was a teacher. They left Sri Lanka a long time ago.
Okay.
And I was born in Malaysia.
Okay.
And when I was about 1.5 years old, we moved again as a family to a tiny country called Brunei Darussalam on the island of Borneo. And that's where I lived, and I grew up and pretty much had my entire schooling there. And then I went to Russia to medical school. I was in 3 cities there, in St. Petersburg, in Tula, and also in Moscow.
Okay, Moscow. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, can we pause there for a second?
Absolutely.
So, was Russia just because they happened to have good med schools, or what made you go to Russia as opposed to say coming here for med school or going?
It was a number of things. So all my siblings, I have 3 older siblings and a brother, and they're all doctors.
Okay.
And they were all educated in India, right? So there's a big gap between my brother and me, 5 years. Right? I'm the youngest in the family. So when it came to my turn, my father felt that Russia was the more affordable option then. And he knew the Indian system. It was very good, but he wanted me to try something else. And so I did go to Russia, and it was a few years after communism fell. So Russia was still coming out of its, post-Soviet
It's communist shell.
Yeah, it's communist shell, exactly, Surprise. But it was a fascinating experience for me because I was a very sheltered child.
Okay.
Right? Up to 20 years old, I pretty much because I didn't know the world. Right, and my father used to worry about me, and his big thing was he would watch me after school, come and sit down, and he said, "My son is still watching Sesame Street, eating Quality Street."
Sounds good.
Yeah, I know.
I still watch Sesame Street.
So
Shout out Big Bird.
Oh, Big Bird, I like Snuffy.
Okay.
So anyhow, so when I went to Russia, it was really a rude awakening. It was culture shock.
Imagine it's different. Did you speak the language before you went there?
No, not a word.
So
the only 2 words that I knew was spasiba, which is thank you, and malako, milk.
Milk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And da and yet. Okay, those 2.
What's that?
Yeah, that's it. Da is yes, and yet is no.
Okay.
Right. So these are the only 4 words I knew, but I had to grow up overnight. See, I never cracked an egg. I never peeled an onion. but I had to learn how to cook for myself
In Russia.
in
Okay.
Russia.
I love that for you.
There were no laundry machines. You had to wash your clothes with your own hands.
Okay.
Try washing a pair of jeans.
Oh, I couldn't
in a
survive.
tub,
Couldn't do it.
you know.
Can't do it
was-
here. Can't do it in Russia.
Exactly. So it was rough, but I did grow up. You know, I saw the world. I saw a lot of things: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I bet.
You know, so it was a wake up experience. And
so you were 20
when
How
I
old were
went
you?
to I was 19.
Okay, so even younger. 19 years old.
Yeah, 19 years old.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so in Russia,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Russia now, I assume then too, you would know more than me, is a predominantly Orthodox
Yes.
country. I don't even think Catholics are allowed to like proselytize or reach out to convert people to Catholicism. To my knowledge, I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find the faith in Russia, or did you find the faith after you left Russia? Because presumably you were still a Hindu at this point.
Well, we were raised Hindu.
Okay.
Okay. Mom was Catholic,
Okay.
but she always prayed at home. She didn't really go to church.
Gotcha.
But she prayed at home, and she did teach us a lot about her faith.
Okay.
Right. She's very, very devoted to the Rosary, and I can still remember that some of the hymns that I enjoy today is because she used to sing them, you know, after she finished praying.
That's cool.
You know, but Brunei was a Muslim country. There's not much exposure there. But when I went to Russia, it was the first time I had gone. I mean, I was experiencing life in a Christian country, and Christianity was resurging after years and years of oppression.
Right, because again, communism had just fallen, right?
Exactly. And, you know, churches were being opened, churches that were desecrated, right? There's a church in St. Petersburg called St. Catherine's. It was built by the Empress Catherine the Great for the Catholics.
Okay.
And I remember when I went in for the first time, it was all covered with tarp because everything was just broken and defaced, you know, and they were trying to restore it. One of the most precious memories I have was one day walking down Nevsky Prospect in St. Petersburg, the main thoroughfare, and seeing this helicopter hovering over St. Catherine's Church to bring down this gigantic metal cross to be installed on the dome again.
Wow.
And people were around this church making the sign of the cross in the Orthodox way and watching this whole procedure of the cross alighting on top of the dome once more. So it was the most beautiful experience in my life. I'll never forget that. And again, to go to the Orthodox churches and see the beauty of their liturgy, and enjoy their spirituality, it was just, sometimes it's just so overwhelming. Another good memory of mine was I walked into the Transfiguration Cathedral in St. Petersburg on Liteyny Prospect. It was, I did not know it was the Feast of the Holy Trinity. And when I stepped into this cathedral, it was called Preobrazhensky, I was just hit with incense to see all the clergy were dressed in magnificent gold vestments, entirely bathed in light. And it was, I don't know, it took me to a different realm. So when I used to attend church there, I'd first go to Catholic Mass. Of course, I couldn't receive because I wasn't Catholic. And then I would, after the Mass was over, I would cross the street, go to the Kazan Cathedral and attend Orthodox liturgy.
Wow, and their divine liturgy is like long.
It's about an hour and a half at least.
At least,
Yeah.
And that's not for like a feast day. That's for just an
Just a
ordinary
regular,
Sunday.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. So you're doing more than double duty.
Exactly. Because I enjoyed it.
And you still weren't Christian at that point.
No.
You were just kind of soaking it all in.
Yeah, I was, and I used to pray pretty much at home at the hostel.
Okay.
Right? So I used to be Catholic in all things. I mean, as to say, Catholic in name only.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was Hindu in name only. Right?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it almost reminds me like your story of the cross being placed on the top of the church after being desolate for so long and destroyed, and you hear about this stuff all the time, but actually talk to somebody that's like, I just imagine a visual like that. I've never seen anything like that in my life. But it's like Christ dying and rising again, and they say hindsight's 20/20. It's like all these empires that have tried to destroy the church, they're gone. The church is still here. And when I hear people say, you know, secularism is where we're going, the church is dead, the church is not going to be here much longer, the church is irrelevant, it's like, look at the last 2,000 years. Maybe if you look at the last 100, 200 years, yeah, you'll say, okay, the church is kind of becoming more minuscule. But if you broaden your view of history and think over the last 2,000 years instead of the last century or two, it's like the church isn't going anywhere. And when secularism and, you know, our modern system is gone, the church will still be here just like it always has been. That's,
of course.
That's my perspective anyway. That's, yeah.
Because those who say the church is irrelevant, right? Truth will never be irrelevant.
No, exactly.
It'll always be in fashion.
Mm-hmm.
It'll always be relevant, right? And there will always be seekers of truth, right? They may be diminished, but they're still seeking, and truth will still reveal itself to them.
It's very true. I mean, I believe it's true anyway. Hopefully you guys believe it's true, and if you don't, you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're in Russia. You're a Hindu in name only. You're going more than double duty. You're attending Catholic Mass and Orthodox Divine Liturgy on Sundays.
Right.
Beautiful cathedrals, beautiful vestments, lots of incense.
Icons, don't forget the icons.
Won't forget the icons, which you still have a devotion to,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah, I love icons. To have a few in my office. Got to get more. You can never have too many icons, I don't think.
No, you can't.
So you're in med school in Russia. You finished med school in Russia? Is that what happened?
Yes, I did, yes,
Okay.
eventually, yes.
And then did you practice medicine in Russia? Or did you...
So, yeah, when we get our degree, we are automatically allowed to set up shop, right?
Okay.
This is the thing. Even though I did medicine, I hated medicine.
Okay.
I really did.
So can I ask, sorry to interrupt, so was this, you said your mom was a teacher?
Yes.
And your dad was a doctor?
That's right.
So was it kind of just you were going to be a doctor? Is that kind of how it was growing up?
Well, the youngest, you know.
Yeah.
And since all my siblings were already in that path, right? So they thought it was the natural way for me to go.
Yeah.
But I hated medicine a lot. I did it. I did well, right? But I could never find anything that could satisfy me. You know, there are a lot of disciplines in medicine. You have neurology, pediatrics, OBGYN, you know. You have dermatology, psychiatry, name it, internal medicine. Even though I went through the motions, even though I studied, mostly got A's and B's, right? I never felt called to any single discipline.
Gotcha.
And that was a problem, you know, because I remember when I graduated, the professor of internal medicine, he came up to me after everyone had left, you know, everyone was having their, you know, their photo sessions and all that. And he says, "So you did it?" He told me, spoke to me in Russian. I said, "Yes." Then he looked at me and he said, "You know," he said, "look at your colleagues here." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "They'll all go on to be doctors. You will never be a doctor."
Wow.
He says, "You know stuff, but it's not, you don't have it in you."
Okay.
Right? But there's a different path for you, and I suggest you follow that path.
And I'm presuming he did not know what that path was.
No, he
yet,
did not.
And you probably didn't either.
I didn't either.
Okay.
Because even I sensed it afterwards, right? That there was something else for me, right? But so when I did come to Canada, and there was
we got to fill in some gaps.
All
there.
right,
So
I'm sorry.
You're in Russia. You finished med school. He said, "This is not the path.
Right.
You got a different path."
Right.
How the hell did you end up from, you know, going to Russia and then coming here? What was the...
Well, because, you know, my siblings, they were all settled between the United States and Canada.
Okay, so you had family here already.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
and
okay.
my parents were just waiting for me to finish,
Gotcha.
you know, so that they could come over here, and I did.
Gotcha.
And
so are they here now too? Or
my
are they...
parents?
Yeah.
They passed away.
Okay,
They passed away
yeah.
here in Canada.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so they were here when you...
Eh,
Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
yes.
Gotcha.
And so this long struggle began where I belonged, you know, because coming from a very, very South Asian cultural background, there's a lot of filial piety towards our parents.
Yeah.
You know, mom and dad, if they say something, you have to obey, right? So they were saying you had to continue with your medicine, And even though I was really very unhappy about it, in my mind I was thinking, well, mom and dad know what's best for me. But just not finding any joy in it.
Yeah.
Right? Just doing to the motions and all that stuff. And honestly, I felt called to the priesthood when I was 15.
Wow.
So
even before you were
exactly,
Catholic, you were...
Right. Even though I did not even know what a priest did.
Yeah.
Because I did study in a Catholic school.
Okay.
But I had no exposure to the priesthood, right?
Gotcha, yep.
And I remember this a flashback to 12 years old. And I come back from school one day and my mom says, I do ask you a question now. And I said, yeah. Said, your brother is going to be a doctor. Your sisters are going to be doctors. What do you want to be? And I looked at her and said, I think I want to be the Pope.
Okay.
And my mother said, what? And I said, I think I want to be the Pope.
Cardinals, take note, next conclave.
So my mom, she picked up the phone immediately and she called her best friend and said, he says he wants to be your Pope. She said, I don't know what to make of it. It's a blessing, maybe? I don't know. So so maybe that seed was there. Okay, fine. I don't want to be Pope, but but the seed was there, right?
Yeah.
And when my mother also realized that early on, even before I was baptized, she said, I know you want to be a priest, but it's best you become a doctor first, and then you can do whatever you want.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I went and did medicine, because she told me, get me the diploma and then you can do whatever you want.
Well, I do think becoming a doctor and getting through med school and even practicing medicine is a very powerful witness to the faith, because unfortunately, I think it's getting better since the whole new atheism movement's kind of died out a bit, with Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and those sort of internet personalities. I think that's kind of died out, and the public opinion about religion is sort of getting more positive again. Lots of converts, and myself included. But there is still the stigma that religion is for dumb people, or religion is for cavemen or people stuck in the past. And seeing people who have gone through med school, who have studied science, or who are well-versed in philosophy, right? Seeing them take on the faith, especially in leadership roles like the priesthood, I think it's a very powerful witness that, the faith is for the well-learned as well as the unlearned and everything in between, right? There's a place for everybody in it, and it can be as deep as you need it to be or as shallow as you need it to be.
Exactly.
Right? You don't have to be an intellectual, but there's definitely room for intellectuals in the church.
And, some of my approaches towards, people, penitents, whatever you call it, right? Whatever it is. It's really based through my exposure to medicine. Because
Well, you're a physician of souls, right?
In a way now. But
Yeah.
I do apply some of those medical skills, in a way of trying to even get into the root of the problem.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would also say is the professors in, the education system in Russia and pretty much Eastern Europe, they follow a certain, it's a certain criteria. It's very different from the Western side, because they teach us philosophy, interspersed with all our medical subjects, right?
So it's not just practicality.
Yeah, exactly.
This is exactly what you need to do, copy, cookie cutter, do the job.
Right, exactly.
There's more to it than that.
It's just a very all-encompassing kind of education. For example, we'll have anatomy, histology, physiology, history, right? Then we'll have psychology, philosophy, again, things like that. They'll intersperse it all the time.
Yeah.
And so it was very holistic.
That's good. It sounds like, I'm a PhD dropout. I'm not an expert on education, but I think it sounds like more of a classical education, right? Whereas, again, now it's study for this job, get the job, instead of forming the person as a whole, intellectually, spiritually, maybe even physically, right? That's more of a holistic and I think classical idea of a university.
Right,
so,
that's right.
Okay. So then you move here, and then I guess you're practicing a little bit or maybe a lot of Catholicism, even though you're still Hindu in name.
So I was baptized in Russia.
Okay, that's where I was going. That's okay.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
So,
I'd love to hear about that.
So 2 years was spent in the city of Tula.
Okay.
And I used to, there was one Catholic church, very small.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go there because the time was just off, for mass there. And it was so small that the majority of the people would stand outside the church in the dead of winter, so minus 15 degrees Celsius.
Wow. Here
And
people can't even drive to church because
Right.
the Leaf game's on or so whatever, and then there you get people.
That's right.
out in
And
the
then
cold.
if you go late, you're standing outside for the entirety of mass.
Wow.
Right. But people were going there. It was a very small, little hall because the church was taken over by the communists, the building itself,
Wow.
and turned into offices. Right. They might have given it back to them right now. Right.
Yeah.
So I used to go to the Orthodox Church, and then when I went to Moscow. So there was a Catholic parish there, Our Lady of Hope, and they did not have church building. So they would gather in the gymnasium of the international school.
Okay.
And the parishioners were really quite eclectic. You had ambassadors and you had students,
Okay.
right? So you'd be standing side by side with the ambassador of Zambia, of Sierra Leone, or some of these countries. The French ambassador was there. It was very interesting. The priest was Father Michael Ryan, a Marist priest, and he had been there for a long time. He just left Russia just recently. I'm in touch with him still.
Nice. Okay.
He treats me. He's very proud of the fact that I'm a vocation from his parish that he baptized me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right, and I was baptized on eve of Easter, the year 2000, the Great Jubilee.
Wow.
Right, so it was a wonderful experience, and I had the choice. I could have become Russian Orthodox, or I could have become Roman
I was just
Catholic.
about to talk to you about that. I was
Yeah.
going to say, so online you see a lot of people debating Orthodox, Catholic. There's a big draw to the apostolic churches, I find.
right.
A lot of non-denominational Christians or Protestant Christians are starting to learn a lot about church history, and sometimes it's not very charitable the way people are going about it. But I was going to ask you if you're comfortable. You have a lot more exposure to Orthodoxy than I think most people here in North America do. And you lived in, I think, the most Orthodox country population-wise in the world.
Right.
So what I was going to ask, do you think it's your family history with your mom being Catholic, going to Catholic school, maybe you were drawn to Catholicism, or is there something deeper than that maybe drew you to...
Well, it was the fact that my mom was Catholic. That was one of the reasons, right? But the second reason was more practical. The Russian Orthodox Church was for Russians,
Right.
So when you go to a Catholic church, you see people from all nations, all tribes, all peoples.
Yeah.
You go to a Russian Orthodox church, you see only Russians.
Yeah.
Right. And I love the Russian people; they're the kindest and all that. But you just don't belong,
Yeah.
right? Because let's be honest: skin color, culture, all those things, right? The Orthodox churches are national churches.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. It serves their people, it serves their culture. Great.
Yep.
But for a person who does not belong to that culture,
Yeah.
right, you have fish out of water. Because sometimes, for most part, they were always welcoming. But sometimes you would have, very nosy candle seller lady, right, say, what are you going to do with those candles? Why are you buying so many candles? All those things. Right? Lady, leave me alone. I want to light my candle and pray.
That's right.
But one of the most beautiful experiences I had, and I'll always treasure this, was it was I have this tradition even now. Now it's easier because I actually live next to a church. But in those days, either on the eve of my birthday or on my birthday, I would go to church to light a candle and pray.
It's beautiful.
And so in the city of Tula, it was 1996, I believe. I wanted to go to the church, and my friends were with me. And I had this bad habit of buying icons all the time whenever I go to the church.
Correction,
right?
very good habit. Very, very good habit.
Right. And I remember my friends were saying to me, "You are not going to buy icons again." And I said, "I am not going
They're
to
not
buy
friends
icons."
anymore.
I told them, "I'm not going to buy icons anymore." They say, "Make a pinky promise." Then I said, "Okay, pinky promise. I'm not going to buy an icon."
Did you have your fingers crossed, or?
Yeah, kind of. I did it with my fingers. So I go to this church. It was about 4:00 in the evening.
Yeah.
And as I entered this church, again, it was a church under restoration.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this man in a black suit with a long beard. He was standing there with his arms behind his back. And he was watching me. And I said, okay, I'm kind of intimidated here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I go buy my candles. And I saw this very beautiful icon of Our Lady of Kazan behind the lady. And she was so sweet. I said, I asked her, I said, I like that icon very much. Is it for sale? And she said, "Oh, no, young man. That's the only one we have." I said, okay. And then
Wasn't happy about that.
No, I wasn't. I went and I lit my candle and I was praying. And I could hear this gentleman go up to her and say, "What did the young man want?" And she was saying he wanted this icon. And then he whispers something to her. And then on my way back, he just puts his big hand on my shoulder and says, "Young man," deep baritone voice, bass voice, sorry. All right. I said, "Yes, sir." And then he said, "Why do you want this icon?" In Russian, of course, right? And I said, "The face of the Blessed Mother is so beautiful. It's like she speaks to me. And, I'm so enthralled and enchanted by her beauty." And all he did was he nodded, and this lady brings this big same icon wrapped in a winding sheet, and he said, "This is for you." Oh. And I said, "Hey, how much do I owe you?"
Yeah.
He said, "With good health and long life to you, this is for you."
Wow.
Right? And then he said, then I looked at him and I said, "Sir, who are you?" And he said, "I'm the Metropolitan Archbishop of Tula."
Wow.
Then he said, I invite you to come and pray here often and all that. So,
And I'm assuming you have this icon still? Or?
No, I had to leave. It was too big for me to bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost a perfect story.
Yeah, I left
Almost
it with Father Michael Ryan.
So it's in good hands.
Yeah.
It's in good hands.
Yeah, it's in good hands. He gave it to a family, apparently.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
I found with I'm a convert myself, and people are just so generous when they talk to you and they think that you have the intention of growing in the faith or learning more about the faith. If anybody out there is nervous to walk into a church for the first time, or you're like, "I've done too much, I can't walk into a church," or they're going to think I'm weird, or they're going to think I'm nuts, just go. I've never been treated as well as I was when I was a young man. I still am, but when I was a younger man, learning about the church and meeting people in the church for the first time and just telling them I didn't grow up Catholic, but I would like to be very welcoming, very understanding, non-judgmental. It's good stuff. Yeah. I didn't get a giant icon, but there's still hope. There's still hope for me.
And if it's God's house, it's your house. Always remember that, One very precious lesson I heard from a priest in Texas once is that I went to confession to him and I said, "Father, I would love to sit in the front, but, it's because it's not my parish. I feel compelled to sit at the back." This is, And he said, "You're Catholic, aren't you?" I said, "Of course I am." And he said, "Every Catholic parish is your parish. It's your home. So sit wherever you want."
Yeah, goes for anybody watching. I think you hear people say, "Oh, why do the churches have to be so beautiful? Why can't we melt this down and sell this? And why can't we donate this?" And they say man can't live on bread alone. And what people don't realize is beauty is very important for the soul. And a lot of people will not get to experience beauty in their life outside the church. The vast majority of people throughout the world, right? Like we have so much wealth here in North America, Western Europe. Like we take it for granted, but the church, it's not publicly owned, but it's treated like it is. And it's the one place where a lot of people can feel like they are a part of something bigger than themselves and really experience that through the beauty. And they won't experience that anywhere else.
You know, if I can digress a little bit.
Of course.
Building on what you just said, when I went on a pilgrimage to Ecuador in 2014, I believe. And one of the most beautiful churches in the old city of Quito, one of the most well-preserved old colonial cities in Latin America, is La Compañía, which is the home of the Jesuits. And when we entered that church, we were just like we were almost blinded because the entire church is covered in gold. They said 150 kilograms of gold went into gold leafing for the entire church.
Wow.
And one of the pilgrims on that was she was saying, why couldn't this be given to the poor? But another gentleman on that pilgrimage just turned to her immediately and said, this was for the poor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Because he said the rich had this ornamentation in their palaces, in their mansions, in their villas, whatever. The poor had nothing. But by by adorning the house of God, God is saying to them, the church is saying to them, you are no less than these people.
Yeah, you are worthy of this just as much as these rich people are.
Yeah.
This is yours. This is your building. Come participate in this. Come sit wherever you want, like you said earlier.
And I take it a step further. Church is saying, you are lords and ladies. You are princes and princesses. This is for you.
Priest, prophet, and king.
Exactly.
Via baptism, go get baptized. So last thing, I think we're getting a little bit shorter on time. I just want to ask you a little bit about. So we talked about moving to Russia. We talked about med school. We talked about your conversion. You had a calling from when you were younger, from even before you were Catholic, and it sounds like other people implicitly recognized it as you were practicing medicine, saying, these people will all go on to be doctors. You, different path.
Right.
So what exactly led you to make the final, not the final decision to be a priest, but what made you join the seminary, I guess I should say? Because did you join the seminary here? Is that what happened?
Yes, it was for the Diocese of
And so
Hamilton.
what was sort of the final straw where you're like, you know what, I'm doing this?
So this is a very, very interesting story.
Okay.
I was in my home in Toronto. My mom had gone on a trip to Turkey. And I was doing one of those board exams, so I was not really interested in it. And I was just sitting there, and it was 2:00 in the morning, I think, roughly. I was pouring to my notes. And suddenly I heard a voice very clearly say, and this may sound creepy to some people or strange.
It's not creepy.
It says, you have to make a decision now. Either you continue on this path that's going nowhere and continue reading that book, or you start following me.
Wow.
If you are going to follow me, close that book now.
Wow.
And I closed the book.
I should hope so.
Yes. And what I did was, now I had no support really from any of my family members because of this, right?
I was going to ask a follow-up question about that.
But except for my sister-in-law, who is Texan and Southern Baptist,
okay,
right? A real cowgirl.
Yeah.
And I immediately wrote a long letter to her explaining it. And she responded and said, well, I was waiting for you to admit it.
Wow.
Because I knew you did not want to do medicine.
Wow.
But she said, leave it to me. Your brother will growl, but that's all he's going to do.
Okay.
But I'll take care of it.
Wow.
And this is a very interesting twist. The same day that this is what my sister-in-law told me. She was going to tell my brother. My brother walks into the house and says, something really weird happened in hospital today, because he's a doctor in Texas, right? One of the candy stripers who had met me, right, came up to him and says, "What's your baby brother doing?" This is Texas, by the way, right? And my brother said, "Oh yeah, he's preparing for his exams. He's good." And she said, "Sweetie, he's not happy, right? Don't force him to do something he doesn't want to do. He's got a calling somewhere else."
Wow.
Right? And then my sister-in-law apparently told my brother, "Well, I got news for you."
Surprise!
Yeah. And what my sister-in-law said when she told him, he said, "Get into the car right now." And they are not Catholics. They went to the Catholic church closest to them. And my brother lit a candle just by the Blessed Sacrament and said, "If my brother wants to be a priest, let him be a priest."
Wow.
And that was the one that got the ball rolling.
Wow.
Right?
And so that was it. Then seminary, and then
Yeah,
here
exactly.
we are.
Seminary and all that. And
Last question, I think. So your mom was Hindu. Your dad was...
no, my mom's Catholic.
Sorry, your mom was Catholic. Your dad's Hindu.
That's right.
Your dad was a doctor. You were kind of on that path. You're going to be a doctor. So how did your parents react when you not only became Catholic, but then decided to join seminary? Was it a warm reaction? Was it a bit confused? Was it a bit hostile? I know my family, when I became Catholic, initially they warmed up to it, but it was a very, for some of them, vitriol reaction to becoming Catholic.
So my siblings, they accepted it. My mother was fighting it. And unfortunately, she died the day I joined seminary. Okay.
Yeah.
My father, my siblings told me, because he was my father was a wonderful, wonderful man. He was like almost a perfect father who sacrificed his life for his kids, right? But for him, he admitted it, that his blind spot was religion, right? So my sister told me, you know what, Dad doesn't need to know everything, so just tell him, what is happening right now. You're studying philosophy, tell him you're studying philosophy,
Yeah,
it's
true.
Yeah. And so I did. And, he accepted it. But later on, when he passed away a year and a half after my mom passed away.
Okay.
My aunt, who actually kind of raised me because she was with us in Brunei, she said, your father was a brilliant, brilliant man. He was a wonderful doctor. He could diagnose a person even by hearing the way they would cough.
Wow.
He was such a experienced doctor. You think he doesn't know his own son?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So he'd figured it out, or at least that's what you think. Yeah.
And I think my father's whole approach was, you don't tell me, and I don't need to know. As long as you're happy, and I think my siblings said, Dad saw you were happy, and I think that was enough for him, but he didn't need to know. He didn't want to know.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, God rest both your parents. I guess thank you to both of them for raising a good man and a priest, and I think that's all we got time for today. Yeah. So I think that's a strong note to end on. So again, what did you text me the other day? You said a white coat to a cassock.
Yes, that's right.
White coat to a cassock, to Russia to dunk on communism for a little bit, and you became Catholic, and then you came here and became a priest. You're serving the people of God. Is there anything you're working on, or anything you want to bring attention to, or any final words you want to say to everybody before we get lost?
I think the most important thing that we all have to remember is, I think, can be summed up in one word: integrity. I think the world has lost a sense of integrity, and I think we need to return to that. To have integrity as man, as a woman, and to live our life in that way. Sometimes when we are always chasing things or positions and ambitions, we put integrity on a shelf, or we flush it down the toilet. What makes us human beings and true men and women is integrity. So I think that's something we have to keep in mind.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Subscribe and hit that bell button, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks.